Hello friends! Welcome back to another episode of Reddit ProRevenge, because who doesn't like to hear some satisfying revenge on people who deserve it? I've got 4 great stories for you in this one. You'll hear what happens when a boss lays his hands on a worker, a guy who should have kept his mouth shut, 3 kids who messed with the wrong guy, and some good old relationship revenge. I hope you stay for all the stories today, and subscribe for future videos. You should probably never lay your hands on the people you work with, especially if you're the boss. This story's titled, "Don't Hit My Guys." Previous boss walked into the office where I was team lead over 3 engineers. I was out at the time, but heard this from the victim. The boss was very angry about a mistake that one of my guys made on an architectural plot. Not a mistake, but failure to use telepathy. Boss got so angry that while standing behind the seated engineer, he punched the guy in the side of the head, as if immediately realizing what he did was wrong. He said, "Fix it," then left for the day. I got back to the office soon after, and they told me what happened. We made a pact that if he ever put his hands on one of us, we'd all stand up and put him down hard and back each other up. Well, it never came to that. After approaching upper management and HR, I got the runaround on reporting the incident. They all basically said, if it was that bad, then report it to the police. But he's too high in the political structure to fire for this. Unhappy with that answer, and with my guy unwilling to involve the police, we set a plan into action. We invited his boss, the district manager, to see the progress that we had made on a day boss wasn't around. During this, I asked the district manager to have skip level one-on-ones with my guys, saying that it would be good for morale. He agreed. Each one of my guys opened with, "The biggest concern that I have is that boss man punched Tony a couple of months ago, and that human resources told us that they couldn't do anything about it. How can you ensure my safety?" I got called in and gave my story, but I had to say that I wasn't there. I had tried to report it up through the proper channels and failed. I was told that it was political suicide for my entire team if I was to push it. District manager didn't buy into the political bullshit. He made things happen. We agreed that my guys should not be in fear of physical attack. I also had the district manager's backing in case of the political fallout. And he was a personal friend of the CEO, so that was good enough protection. Boss man was walked and trespassed, which pretty much means that he was fired. Boom. Headshot. Don't hit my guys. Some people need to learn when to keep their mouth shut. This one's titled, "And my bartender Santa gave me an extra dose of Christmas cheer." I'm a regular at a bar. I don't have family. My roommate was out of town, so I went to the bar. I was having a good night. Then this motherfucker showed up. Now, this guy and I don't have a lot of history in my mind. I was dating a girl 3 years ago. She cheated on me. I broke up with her. The whole relationship lasted all of a month. In my mind, that was the end of it. Shit happens. Move on. The person she cheated on me with was this motherfucker. Now, he's a weird person. I didn't harbor any ill will. This guy, however, ran in very vaguely the same circles as me. He would see me at a bar or a party, and occasionally made it a point to say to someone, "I fucked that guy's girlfriend." I had zero interest in this guy. I gave not a single fuck about him. I just wanted to drink and have fun. What was weird about it is that he always introduced himself like it was the first time we've ever met, and acted like he remembered me from somewhere. I would be like, "Yeah, you banged Jennifer." And he would say, "Oh, how is she? We stopped dating, after you banged her." "Oh, well, good talk." And the smug prick would pat me on the shoulder. This was pretty annoying. I dated this girl for all of a month. It didn't even blip on my radar as a serious relationship, except that this guy would show up every now and then and remind me that he banged a girl that I was dating. So I'm in this bar, I'm hanging out with some vets, swapping war stories, and here comes this guy. He goes, "Hey, I know you from..." I say, "Dude, not now, I'm in the middle of a story. Fuck off for a bit." I finished my story, and he came back and said, "I know you from somewhere." Before he could finish, I said, "Okay, I honestly don't give a fuck. It was like 3 years ago." He left. The owner and the bartender were around me. The owner said, "So, do you, hate this guy?" And I told him the story. He goes, "Are you going anywhere soon?" After that question, I said no. The bartender was pissed because the dude was always grabbing her. The owner hated him because he was always driving drunk. At the bar, you don't drive drunk. The owner has a policy that if you need to get home, they'll pay for a cab if you pay it back the next time you're in, and he will call the police on your ass if you try to drive drunk. That dude doesn't tolerate that shit. This guy had a history of driving drunk from that bar. The bartender went back and made a phone call, and I drank a few beers. I was promised a show, and I'd wait. The guy left and shook my hand. The smug prick even patted me on the shoulder and said, "Say hi to Jen for me." He pulled out of the parking lot, and there were immediate flashing lights. The bartender called the non-emergency line and said that there was a repeat DUI offender at the bar, and they sent a non-marked car to hang out in the parking lot. He served a month in jail, a few $1,000s mandatory fines, and got his license revoked for 6 to 10 years. His vehicle was also immediately seized by police, and the judge ordered an ignition interlock device installed at his expense. Merry Christmas to me. You never know what someone's capable of doing to you. This story's titled, "Ever Mess with the Wrong Guy?" Friend told me about a guy that he knew named Ben, and how he met out some crazy revenge. Ben was driving himself down Johnson Road. Now, Johnson Road was one of those uncommon roads in suburbia that was kind of narrow. As he was driving, there were these 3 teenagers, 16, 17, and 19, walking shoulder to shoulder along the road with their backs to him. Not trying to hit them, Ben moved to the far left side to avoid them and give them enough safe space. Turns out that it was a ruse by those 3 kids to get cars to pass along them just like that. When he passed them, they took out baseball bats that they were hiding and started smashing his car as he passed, took out his side mirror, and caused some minor damage. Ben wasn't too happy, so he pulled over and got out of his car to address this. Not too smart since it's already 3-on-1, but you'll understand in a minute. The 3 kids see him and realize their advantage and start charging at him, bats raised. Now this is where it gets good. Ben pulls out a gun and tells them all to freeze. Turns out, Ben's a retired Marine with a concealed weapons permit. The 3 kids freak out and stop dead in their tracks, arms raised. Ben directs them to get on their knees, lay face down, and keep their arms and legs spread out. Now this was back in early 2000 when cell phones weren't as common, but Ben happened to have one. He called the cops on the kids right then and there. He said, "My name is Ben, I'm on Johnson Road, and 3 teenagers just attacked my car and threatened to attack me. I'm carrying a gun with a permit and have them on the ground and subdued. I need an officer to come by here as I'm pressing charges and I want them arrested. When the officer arrives, I'm the one with the gun and I'll follow his instructions." The kids start begging for him to let them go, cursing at each other and probably giving sob stories, but Ben's not listening. The cop arrives, orders Ben to put down his gun, which he does, and then it gets better. Turns out the cop is a retired Marine too. He hears Ben's statement, sees the evidence, and then they have this exchange. The conversation went like this. The cop says, "So they came right at you?" Ben responds, "Yes." "And you didn't shoot them?" "No, they listened to my commands, so I didn't see the need." The cop then looks at the 3 kids and says, "You're lucky you got him and not me. I'd have shot all 3 of you coming at me with bats. If this guy would have shot all 3 of you dead, told me what happened, I'd send him on his way." So the 3 kids get arrested, and the cop tells the 2 youngest that they're probably gonna screw up their lives if they keep this up. He tells the 19-year-old that if he's over 18 and an adult, it's too late for him and he's going to jail for this. Then it gets better. They all end up in court, and it turns out the judge's son is currently in the Marines. He tells the other 2 that they're gonna be tried as adults too, and eventually, all 3 go to jail for the maximum sentence that our state allows for this crime. Having all of your belongings donated while you're away would be horrible. This story's titled, "Teenage Breakup." When I was 16, I met an older guy. Let's call him Tom, through some friends of mine. He was 21 and had his own apartment. We dated for about 2 years off and on. Tom worked odd jobs, but he barely graduated high school and was admittedly not very bright. In fact, he was kind of a jerk. He would call me names or make fun of me in front of his friends or ignore me when I was upset. He also would talk to other girls without trying to hide it, but if I texted a guy from band class, then I was a slut. I liked him because I was dumb and 16. And honestly, to my 16-year-old self, he was really good looking. Well, it seemed that Tom had a secret. He had joined the National Guard at 18, And after basic training or something, he got to go home for a short time because his mom was very sick. Well, I guess his mom recovered very quickly, but Tom never let the military know. Instead, he moved addresses and jobs often, so the military couldn't find him. Eventually, the janitorial company that he worked for found out that he was a runaway. I know there's a better term for this, but I don't know what that is, and they fired him. So Tom was homeless. Guess who convinced her parents to let him stay with them for a while? That's right, me. So I would get up and go to my senior year of high school, and my 23-year-old boyfriend would sleep in all day and hide from my dad and didn't do much but drink. This continued for a month or so. One day, Tom asked me to drive him to a friend's house and said there was a party and he was going to stay for the night. I had school in the morning and I had known these friends for years, so I said, "Bye, honey," and kissed him goodbye as he got out of my car. That's the last time I ever saw him in person. The next day, he said he was going to continue to drink and stay in the other town with his friends. I was so busy, so I just said, whatever. It wasn't unlike Tom to drink for 3 days straight, then come home and crash. Well, on the third day, his best friend called me and said, "Tom's cheating on you. He met Jane at my house party the other night and has been staying at her apartment, even though she knows about you. He told me that he wasn't going to tell you and to see how long he could get away with it. But I knew I had to tell you because you don't deserve that." I was very upset. He was my first boyfriend and he had broken my heart. I called Tom and begged him to come back, but he refused and said that he was with Jane now and that we never really even dated. I called the girl and tried to talk to her, but she just kept calling me pathetic and that I never dated Tom. Like I said, Tom lived with me. Everything he owned was at my parents' house, from snowboards to books to all of his clothes and some furniture. Literally everything this guy owned was at my house. When I was done being sad, I was mad. I called Tom on the fourth day and told him that all of his things were on my porch and that he could come get them when I was at school. I said that he had 1 day to get his stuff or it would be gone. He laughed at me and said he would come get it soon. Well, I came home from school and it was all still there. So I loaded everything up, cleats, a stereo, clothes, everything a person could own, into my car and brought it to Goodwill. Took me and 2 workers about half an hour to unload it all. I think they thought someone died because they didn't ask why all this person's stuff would be donated. The next day, Tom calls me and says he's coming by today and I better not start any drama because he's bringing Jane to help him get the stuff. I told him not to bother because I gave it all away. He flipped out and screamed and called me every name in the book and had his new girlfriend come there alone to see if I was telling the truth. Tom called the police and they laughed at him. They said if I told him to come get it and he didn't, then it's his fault. My friend that had called me originally was the one that drove Tom to Goodwill. The employees there laughed at him and said they wouldn't give him anything. Tom was also super broke, so he couldn't afford to buy anything back. Never saw Tom again, but the last I heard, he was in jail again. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this episode of Reddit ProRevenge. If you like the stories, hit that thumbs up button and leave a comment, letting me know your thoughts. If you aren't subscribed, I'll show you what to do with this animation. Also, if you want to talk to me or submit stories, join my Discord server. See you guys in the next one.